Welcome everyone to the Men's ADHD Support Group. My name is Shane Thrapp, Operations Director for the nonprofit Men's ADHD Support Group. And I just wanted to say thank you for everybody who was able to make it. And I wanted to say a special thank you to Alan P. Brown for joining us tonight. Alan P. Brown is the founder of ADD Crusher TV. He is an ADHD productivity coach, and he has really given us something really cool tonight. He's going to be talking about 5 mindset shifts for more doing and less stressing. And I just really want to say that this has been a really fun conversation with him. Just a heads up, there's a little wonkiness with the audio about 4 or 5 minutes in. His headphones kind of cut out, so we had to switch audio, so you'll hear that shift. Sorry for those with sound processing issues. But with that being said, Alan, I really want to say thank you for coming, and we really appreciate the support that you give the Men's ADHD Support Group. And let's get started, brother.
Great. Thank you. And thanks everybody for being here. So let me share my screen. And I designed this, I just got this new jacket, and I designed my PowerPoint to sort of be a middle point between these two colors there. So listen, this is 5 mindset shifts for more doing and less stressing. Yes, I am Alan P. Brown. I'm an ADHD productivity coach. I'm a business coach to other coaches, and I'm a speaker/author. That's my #1 best-selling book, Zen and the Art of Productivity. Some of you may know me as the creator of ADD Crusher at addcrusher.com, where you can get my free ebook, 5 things we're doing every day that make our ADHD worse. And yes, my friends, we're all doing them all of them. All right. I'll have another goodie to share with you later on. And this presentation is a preview of my proposed presentation to the 2024 International Conference on ADHD, 10 simple mindset shifts for more doing and less stressing. So this is a preview. Today, I'll be sharing with you 5 of my favorites. Now, what got me interested in mindset shifts? I'm going to define that in a little bit. Years ago, I watched a public television special by Dr. Wayne Dyer. Some of you may have heard of him, personal development guy. And it was called Change Your Thoughts, Change Your Life. And I bought the companion CD set. I still listen to it once in a while. His main premise was, if you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. That's like a mindset shift. And I thought, now that's a powerful concept that I can use. And his content was based on the 2,000-year-old Tao Te Ching, which I recently tried to reread, and it's still way too deep for me. But I was intrigued by some of Dyer's interpretations, and I began experimenting with some simple mindset shifts. Now, what exactly do I mean by simple mindset shifts? Well, if you know anything about me, you know that I like science and evidence-based strategies, and I'm all about simple, learn it today, do it tomorrow, hacks, solutions, etc. So I'm not talking about dramatically altering, for instance, one's psychological relationship to a major trauma, or overcoming low self-esteem, or becoming Tony Robbins or a triathlete. I focus on smaller, easier shifts that can help us now in the moment in our daily doings. I'll just give you one very quick example. I'll serve a few examples. But first of all, just think about this. You're driving at night, it's raining out, and you're all alone, and you get a flat tire. And you have to get out of the car, and you have to, if you don't have AAA or something, you got to go and you got to get the spare out and the tools out, and you have to do all this stuff. And you could be, this sucks. I can't believe this happened to me. I hate this. I'm getting wet. I'm cold. I'm getting my clothes dirty. This sucks. This sucks. Or you could be, you know what? This happens to people all the time. And it just happened to me. And it just happened to me right now. And so I can either make a big deal about this, or I can just change the tire. I don't have to be happy about it, but neither do I need to be, throwing a hissy fit. And if you just make that shift, I'm not saying it's easy, but that's a simple mindset shift that will burn less energy, probably get the job done more quickly, and then just not have all that negative, neurochemistry going around in your body. Now, in the world of ADHD productivity, when we start our day by looking at our long to-do list, in our endless email inbox, and we feel totally overwhelmed because all these to-dos feel urgent and threatening. We're in a kind of a holy crap, I'm so overwhelmed mindset, right? Which the science tells us increases our cortisol production, reduces our oxygen to our brain, which makes it more difficult to prioritize or think about our many to-dos, let alone do any of them. Which again, when we get freaked out about something, we're in that mindset. It's like, holy crap mindset. We are making it more difficult to do what we need to do. And we have a choice to continue freaking out, or we can learn to pause and realize, for instance, that, hey, in reality, of all these to-dos and unanswered email, none is actually a problem right here in the now, right? So none of us has a real problem right here in the now. Otherwise, we'd already be taking care of it, right? If my sister called me and she said, I'm on the Jersey Turnpike and it's raining and I'm all alone here and my phone battery's about to die, can you send Joey Spoons? I'm going to have to take that call. There is a real Joey Spoons. I was just talking with earlier today. And if you call him and you got something you need done, he'll go do it. I kid you not. But seriously, if that were happening right now, I would get up, have to excuse myself. That's a real problem now. But when we look at our long to-do list and our long email inbox, we get freaked out and we go, I got all these problems and I need to handle all these right now. But rarely is there an actual problem right here in the now, right? So I hope that made sense. That's a little mindset shift, getting into the now. All right, next. Okay, and by the way, another way to look at this too is, in addition to, we're all sitting here right now and none of us has a problem. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here right now. But also, last night, we each slept hopefully 7 or 8 hours. And all of our problems, all of our crises sat unattended to all night long while we, just slept like a bunch of, slackers. But then we wake up this morning, we go, oh my God, here are all these problems. Well, why were we sleeping for 8 hours if they were real problems? All right. So there are no problems here in the now. So we can shift to, hey, it's okay, dude, right? There's no problem here in the now. That's a better mindset. All right. So the couple of examples of right in the moment. So, and that can give us the opportunity, if we can get into that now, to just be more in that mindset, right? Now, some mindset shifts like these two that I've shared, you use them in the moment, but some mindset shifts you work on over time to ingrain that mindset. And a great example of that is what's known as a daily gratitude practice. And there's plenty of research on this, but by taking just a minute or two each day to write down 3 new things for which you're grateful, and you do that for 21 plus days in a row, I'm going to quote the research, quote, your brain starts to retain a pattern of scanning the world not for the negative, but for the positive first. You actually rewire your brain, allowing it to work more optimistically and more successfully. Our brain at positive, when it's optimistic, is 31% more productive than our brain at negative, neutral, or stressed. Salespeople perform 37% better. Doctors are 19% faster and more accurate at coming up with correct diagnoses when positive instead of negative, neutral, stressed. All right. So you can tell I love science. I love the science. So just based on these few examples, do you think that a number of mindset shifts might be able to help you with productivity, time management, beating the overwhelm, attitude and mood, even better relationships maybe, or as Shane said, getting shit done with things like this, or at the very least, more doing and less stressing, which is sort of the subtitle of our presentation. Now, 2 important principles with regard to having success in your mindset shifting. First of all, it can be hard, but it is way easier than you think, right? And if you think about this, we shift how we feel about things and people all the time. A very quick example, when I was working in New York at one of the big ad agencies I worked for, I kind of had the hots from a distance for this other account executive. And I asked my boss, who was her former boss, hey, what do you think about Carol? Do you think that blah, blah, blah? She said, well, I'll check with her. She came back a few days later and said, nah, she's not interested, Alan. I said, oh, that's too bad. But 2 weeks later, this hot babe was online at the New York Opera to get tickets. And right behind her was another colleague of ours. And they started talking, and it turns out that Carol had just gotten back from a trip to Vietnam. She went with her sister. And she said, "Oh, our mutual colleague said, do you know Alan Brown?" She says, "Well, yeah." She says, "Well, he just got back from Vietnam too. And he went by himself, and he did this, he did that." She says, "Oh, that's all of a sudden, I look like a different person, Ashley." And she changed her mindset about me. And then she just agreed to have a date. And then we were hot and heavy for a while. So anyway, we change our minds about people and things all the time. So new information or insights give you the opportunity or perspectives, the opportunity for a mindset shift, right? And you've shifted your mindset countless times in bigger ways, right? You've had a child. Oh my goodness. You lost a loved one. You've just gotten done taking care of your parent in hospice care or something, and all of a sudden, well, this other stuff doesn't matter. Those are serious mindset shifts. Have you gotten an ADHD diagnosis? Might that have shifted your mindset about some things? All right. So what we're talking about today is shifting our mindset about our tasks and ourselves, right? To help you get more done. And something that makes mindset shifting easier is to embrace what I call imperfect consistency, right? When you're trying to adopt any new way of thinking or any habit for that matter, remember that you don't have to be perfectly consistent 7 days a week or 52 weeks a year. When you fall off, just keep getting back on that pony. All right. And over time, this is what you get, which brings us to the second principle for success. And that is you got to have a reminder system, right? We all know this about our ADHD. We got to have reminders. But if you're trying to do a mindset shift on something, you have got to have a reminder that's what you're up to, that you're trying to do this, right? And it should be something that is in your face every day. I continue to work on this mindset shift. This is my planner. And here's one of the mindset shifts I'm working on right now. You can see it says butt first and then a line through it. So that means no butt firsting. And then it says get straight into action. What this tells me every morning, it's the first thing I see every morning is, Alan, you do not go and do a bunch of miscellaneous stuff before you work on your one of your biggies this morning. So that thing has been here for over a year. And until I own this mindset, until I don't need to look at this, it will stay there. And then today is over. So tomorrow, that will go there. There's Thursday, and that is where I will see it first thing tomorrow. So it's got to be in your face every day. And believe me, you're going to see some of these shifts, and you're going to latch on hopefully to one or two, and you'll want to come back for this. All right. Do what works for you. If this reminder or some reminder is not working, change it. Make it louder, make it bigger, make it in a different medium, etc. All right. It's whatever works for you. And I'm actually at the end, I'm going to do a quick little treatment on how to make reminders work. And that can be applied to anything in our ADHD world. I try to focus on one single sticky at a time, as I mentioned. And I talked about one of the ones that I'm working on now. I'm really working on like 1.5. All right. You combine that, just a constant reminder with imperfect consistency. And over time, you're going to own that new mindset. It's a great quote from, I forget who said it. The name is here. Yeah, Clement Stone. Big doors swing on little hinges. You just keep swinging that door with them little hinges. And over time, you can't help but get big results. All right. Let's dive into mindset shift number 1. So here's a scenario. You've got your calendar set up. Maybe you're using a planner. You use alarms and reminders. Maybe you've been working those to-do list apps and time management tools. All great things to try, by the way. But you still don't have enough time in your day to get anything important done. I invite you to shift from a time management mindset to an energy management mindset. This is a shift I have made. Why? As Kevin Cruz wrote in Forbes, he's a great author. He's done a lot of great productivity books. Energy is everything. You can't make more minutes in the day, but you can increase, and you can also renew your energy, which will increase your attention, your focus, your decision-making, and overall productivity, right? So more energy equals more willpower, getting to the gym more often, more quality time with your kids, getting that promotion, making more money, being happier. Another quote, this from Tony Schwartz of the Energy Project. He says, energy, not time, is the fundamental currency of high performance. All right. So how can we make this mindset shift? What does it look like? We'll start with a few simple things. First of all, know your mentally strong and weak times, right? We all have relatively strong and relatively weak day parts. I am the crusher in the morning. I am a marshmallow at night, or even in the afternoon, late in the afternoon. You have your strongest day part, and you need to schedule your toughest tasks in that precious time and not be doing miscellaneous BS in your strong time. Save that stuff for your weaker time. You got to guard your strong time. Block that off in your calendar, and don't be setting appointments or running errands in your strong time. I've got mine blocked off 7 a.m. to 11 a.m. because that's when my strong time is, and that's when I do my writing. I don't take doctor's appointments in there. I don't take meetings. I don't take clients, and I don't run errands. I try to reserve that. Oh, now, if the brain surgeon says, Alan, I can only work on your brain tomorrow at 8:30 a.m., I'll begrudgingly say, all right, fine, but make it quick. All right. Here's another one. Before sitting down, before a tough task, do a work session ritual with protein. In brief, this means before you sit down to work on a tough or dreaded task, get 20 grams of protein in your tummy. Guzzle a pint of water to hydrate your brain, and declare out loud what it is you're going to be working on. That's called an assertive declaration. Then set your timer. Hey Siri, set a timer for 1 hour. And then go. All right. Whenever you hit a wall, by the way, this is just one more thing in the energy. You can see I'm not talking here, other than this little alarm, I'm not talking about time management at all. I'm just talking about energy. All right. So when you hit a wall and you become tired, fatigued, or frustrated or whatever, use recovery rituals, which I'll explain in mindset shift numero dos. You've been working on something for a while and maybe even made some good progress, but then you hit a little wall and you decide, just for a few minutes, I'm just going to check, just real quick, just going to check a little social media, going to check the scores, hope the Mets are beating the Philadelphia Phillies, etc. Or, I'm going to go check my emails again, even though I checked them 15 minutes ago, et cetera, et cetera. And, just for a few minutes, and then 15 or 20 minutes go by and you're like, oh crap, I got to get back to that project. But now you're not feeling it so much because you have burned more energy doing this stuff, right? So you blow it off till tomorrow, right? We blow it off. This weekend, I'll get to it. So we need to shift from a self-comfort mindset to a self-care mindset. What do I mean? Our outlaw brain, which is our primitive brain that drives many of our behaviors, it wants to avoid difficult work and it loves distractions. That's our outlaw brain. Whether you've got ADHD or not, you've got an outlaw brain. Ours just has bigger guns, let's just say, right? So when we don't feel like working on that tough thing, we sense discomfort or we don't know how to do it, or we hit a wall of fatigue or frustration, we will take a break or we will avoid that difficult task. But as I mentioned, these breaks tend to be escapes into BS activities, social media, news, sports, games, other unimportant things that are comforting, right? But these self-comforts are neither restful nor restorative. They are energy burners. What we need when we hit a wall is self-care in the form of restorative breaks, not escapes into BS, but restoration, what I call recovery rituals. A few very quick examples. Get up and stretch for even 60 seconds. It gets your circulation going, fresh oxygen to your brain. Tidy up your workspace. When you reset your environment, you basically reset your mind and your body. Get up and grab more water and protein. Energy mavens eat multiple small meals across their day. I'm definitely in that camp. Another good one, and there's plenty of research on this. Take a walk around the block, particularly if you live where there's some green. Walk around the block and then come right back and get back to it. Stay away from this thing. These are self-care because they save and restore your mental energy so you can get back to work and get shit done today. And nobody's saying you can't pursue your guilty pleasures, right? But don't do them while avoiding legitimate work. Don't do these, especially in your strong time, but don't do these things during your work hours, right? Do them in your mentally weak time of day, right? That's where you want to be. This is called guilt-free time to do your, zipping around on things. There's nothing inherently evil, but set scheduled time for that, for those kinds of things. All right. Next is mindset shift number 3. All right. We suck at this. We're terrible at that. Tech stuff, I'm useless. Keeping my kitchen organized, forget about it. Being consistent with anything, I totally suck. So you know what? Why bother? What do you suck at? I would love to, if you got going to pop something in the chat, just right off the top of your head. I know tech for me is a thing that I suck at. That's why I sometimes need Shane's help. But seriously, if there's something that really resonates with you that you suck at, and whenever you think about it, you just go, oh, I suck at that, right? And the terrible thing about this is that we're sort of beating ourselves up. So beating ourselves up is the opposite of your brain at positive, right? You're hobbling your mental performance. So we want to go from I suck at this, or I suck at that, or I suck at everything to, you know what? I'm trying, man. I am trying. So again, you beating yourself up because you suck at this, or you blew it, or whatever. It's just, it's the opposite of self-compassion. And by the way, and you're hobbling your mental performance. And self-compassion ain't, as some think, just a bunch of woo-woo. If you look at the science, it's really quite powerful. The simplest of self-compassion interventions have been shown to decrease the odds of depression and increase general happiness. And it saves energy. It saves energy, self-compassion. So I'm trying is self-compassion. I suck at this, or I suck at that, or whatever. That's the opposite of self-compassion. That's berating yourself. And this kind of mindset shift is akin to the growth versus fixed mindset, which Carol Dweck at Stanford uses to describe people's beliefs about their learning and intelligence. I'm sure you've all heard about this. Those with a growth mindset believe that, quote, their most basic abilities can be developed through dedication and hard work. That's a quote from Carol Dweck. Contrast that with a fixed mindset in which people believe they are either smart or dumb, lousy or great, and no amount of effort can change whichever it is that they see themselves as. And our research shows that those who embrace a growth mindset learn more, faster, and perceive failures as opportunities to improve. Belief is the key here. When we believe we can improve, we do. But constantly beating ourselves up, that I suck mindset, is self-loathing, even worse than a fixed mindset. And here's how to start this mindset shift. Watch your mind's language, right? After a setback or a screw up, we might think or say, I'm a failure, I'm an idiot, I suck at this. And a lot of us do that under our breath, like literally sort of out loud, but under our breath. I used to say to myself, and I used to walk around doing this, you dummy. I used to say, you dummy, because that's what my alcoholic father called me when I screwed up. And for a while, I thought my name was dummy. Start trying to catch yourself in any kind of language like this and switch it to something like, hey, I'm trying. I just tried. I just put a lot of effort into that. Or I failed. I failed, but I'm going to try harder next time, or I'm going to try to learn from this. And watch especially what you call yourself. Switch from any negatives like this dummy thing that I used to do to a term of endearment and like a positive nickname, or as I do now, I say, hey, buddy, you're trying, keep on trying. I say, hey, buddy. I call myself buddy now, just like I call my cat Livingston. Hey, buddy. Yeah, how you doing, buddy? Yeah, he looked over. All right. To paraphrase one of the top experts on self-compassion, her name is Kelly McGonigal. She says, which self do you want to be tomorrow? The one that screws up, doesn't meet your high expectations, and doesn't deserve compassion? Or the self that is your friend, who's imperfect, but ultimately wants to and will do the right thing? All right. Now, we can take this mindset shift to the next level with mindset shift number 4, and that is That was my exercise alarm, but we're going to skip the exercise today. All right. So mindset shift number 4. I was late again. I embarrassed myself and my daughter again. I lost my phone again. I'm so humiliated. I'm scrambling to finish that thing at the last minute. Once again, I blew it yet again. Can anybody here relate? Anybody here? You don't have to raise your hand. Just nod your head, even though I can't see your head nodding. But this is classic, right? I invite you to shift from an I blew it again mindset to an I am pissed off about this mindset, right? Yes, get seriously pissed off about something from your recent past, whether days ago or just an hour ago, particularly something you did or continue to do that gets you really frustrated. And we're not talking about getting pissed off at yourself. We're getting pissed off at the result of what happened. See, every day, the reason pissed off is important is every day we generate a range of emotions: anger, joy, frustration, worry, etc. And these can be either an energy drain, like, self-loathing and beating yourself up, or they can be high octane fuel for our productivity, because most emotions have what's known as adaptive value, meaning they can be leveraged into correct action. Negative emotions in particular, anger, has massive adaptive value, because at the heart of anger is an underlying sense that something has got to change. This cannot stand. That is what anger is all about. There's a writer named Solara Green. She says, anger is the tip of passion. You wouldn't get upset if you didn't care so much about whatever the thing was that you messed up. You lost keys again, you lost phone, being late again. So if there's something that matters, there's some energy there to deal with it. She says, put the anger and its energy in front of you. What's triggering me? What's underneath it? Why do I care about this? And what is it that I care about that's making me angry? And how can I use that energy to move forward on this thing that's making me angry? So when you blow it again, instead of beating yourself up, get pissed off. Again, not at yourself, but at the results of, the mess up. All right. And then get fired up to, about what must change. This must change. I did this years ago with regard to being late. I just got pissed off enough about the consequences of that. And I just started it was a mindset shift. I started to think differently, and I would stop doing these silly things like, oh, I got plenty of time, or, oh, the traffic shouldn't be bad this time of day, or let me just listen to one more segment of that podcast, or whatever that is. And I just quit because I got pissed off enough. All right. Here we go with mindset shift. This finally mindset shift number 5. So, oh man, I got to start on my taxes. But hey, I still got 2 weeks and I'm not really feeling it right now. So I'm going to start on it next week. And then 2 months later, you're writing the check for the penalty fee and you're cursing yourself. Why didn't I just start it back then? The answer to that rhetorical question is temporal discounting, where temporal refers to time and discounting refers to the fact that we discount or value less that which is further out into the future. All right, gets us every time, right? Just think about the 32-year-old saving for retirement. Well, yeah, I got plenty of time, versus the 52-year-old, holy crap, I better get busy, right? So, and this is something that we all do to some degree or another. It's a big reason for our procrastination. We comfort ourselves by saying, oh, I'll have more energy tomorrow, or yeah, no, I still got enough time, etc. I invite you to shift from a present self mindset to a future self mindset. See, we are hardwired to prioritize short-term over long-term needs. There's a top researcher at UCLA, his name is Dr. Hal Hershfield. He says, we weren't designed to think into the further future. Again, this just goes back to our old brain, the outlaw brain. We're not thinking about the future because, he says, we needed to focus on providing for ourselves in the here and now. And our brain has not evolved significantly since 200,000 years ago, right? So we default to present self-care. But what present self does or doesn't do today impacts, of course, our future self. And present self is more inclined to act on behalf of present self, i.e., your present self is always screwing over your future self. Hirschfield's research even suggests that we tend to view our future self as a stranger. And he did this with brain imaging. He says, when we procrastinate, parts of our brain actually think that the tasks we're putting off are somebody else's problem. I can see how that takes place in my brain. If I am doing temporal, I'm going, yeah, no, don't worry about that. The other me, or that whoever that person is going to deal with that the night before, will deal with it then, right? All right. And present self will happily escape into TikTok or news headlines or needless email checking. Then the night before that project is due, your future self is infuriated, right? Why didn't I start this sooner? What was I thinking? But here's the good news. Research shows that the more we think about our future self, the more responsibly our present self will act. So next time you catch yourself kicking back and saying, I don't feel like doing that right now, and I still got plenty of time, invoke your awareness of temporal discounting and make this shift, this mindset shift, by asking your present self, hey, how is future me going to feel about present me blowing this off? That is enough often to change course per the research. To help prompt that, maybe put a little sticky somewhere where you'll see it every day that just says, what about my future self? A number of my group coaching peeps have done that to great effect. And, put that somewhere where you'll see it whenever you're working. All right. Okay. And to keep these all fresh in your magnificent minds, let's just do a real quick mindset shifts recap. All right. From time management to energy management, your single best time management tool is knowing and guarding your mental energy strong time, plus a couple other things I shared. 2, shift from self-comfort to self-care. Stop taking comforting escape breaks and start taking restorative breaks. Get outside and walk around the block. You can then be more likely to come back, sit down, and bang out some real work. 3, shift from I suck to, hey, I'm trying. 4, shift from I blew it again to I am pissed off about this. I don't know if you caught that. I try to mumble that soft. And number 5, shift from present self-care, oh man, I got plenty of time, to future self, right? How pissed off am I going to be at 11 o'clock the night before, et cetera, by simply thinking through how you're screwing yourself over. And any one of these will bring you the gift of more doing and less stressing. And with that, just a bit of closing advice. Our friend Bruce Lee says, knowing is not enough, we must apply. Willing is not enough, we must do. So I'm all about taking action on things that we've learned. And I've just shared, a handful of simple mindset shifts that could really help you in the coming months and years. And I hope you've taken some good notes on all of them, right? But I invite you to forget them all, except for just one. I usually, when I do a presentation, I say, I invite you to forget them all except for maybe 2. But in this, because we're talking about mindset shifts, I really suggest if you got fired up about one of these, really resonated with you, just create a sticky note or something, some way to remind you to try to work that inconsistently, being imperfectly consistent, try to work that mindset shift. Over time, you're going to own the mindset shift, right? So really, it's one thing to learn something new. It's another thing entirely to implement something new, let alone build a new habit around it. We must focus in on one thing at a time, especially when trying to adopt a new mindset. All right. So looking again at the 5 here, which one, just think about, and you don't have to put it in chat or anything, but or if maybe you want to, I'd be curious to know, which one mindset shift will you work to adopt, right? And then you can print this out. You can watch if there's a replay or whatever, or you can do a screenshot of this right here. And you can come back to the other 4 once you feel maybe you've made some progress. And here's one key principle for success in shifting that mindset. Again, you got to have that reminder. So I'm just going to share real quick that remember this principle number 2, we need reminders. Stickies can be effective, but they quickly become invisible. As you guys, I'm sure know, that's why you may have 1,000 stickies all over the place, none of which you actually see. But you got to keep a reminder of your desired mindset shift in your face and see it daily. So work on one mindset shift at a time. Create brightly colored stickies or other reminders. You know, this is not a bland color. Here are a couple others. These aren't mindset shift stickies, but I like brightly colored ones because I don't want them to become invisible. What else here? Keep in your line of sight, but isolate it from your other gazillion reminders. Don't stick it in there with a bunch of other ones on the bulletin board. And then if it becomes invisible, ask, is this thing that I'm trying to do, is it still relevant to me? Because it may not be. And don't waste your time on something that's not relevant to you anymore. Or that, frankly, you know what? I'm not having any luck with it. No problem. Get rid of it. Don't have a bunch of reminders that aren't reminding you of anything that's of interest to you. Right? Change it, move it, or anchor it to an existing routine or behavior. What do I mean by that? You know, if you make coffee every morning, like a lot of folks do, if you wanted to really make sure you saw this sticky every day, you go put this sticky on your coffee pot so that every morning when you go to the coffee pot to make your coffee, oh, that's right. I'm trying to do this thing. All right. So here's a freebie in addition to that ebook that I mentioned on addcrusher.com. This is from my presentation last year at the ADHD International Conference, where I shared small and easy things that get big results. So this is the cheat sheet for that. Now, it looks like a lot, but each of them is literally a small and easy thing to do and literally gets big results. And in each of these, you'll see the back, a little bit of sort of context, what it is you're going to put into action, and then what the results are that you could potentially get from it. So you can either scan that or just go to addcrusher.com/easy. With that, let me shut up, at least until I get a question, and you forgive my weird sunlight coming in over here. So, and I apologize again for the sound thing. I got to figure that one out. How can I be of service to you? I hope you got lots of questions. And Shane, if you can help me, because I'm a very painfully slow reader and I might get lost.
First off, thank you so much for the presentation. I'm going to definitely take the energy management because it's something that I think about constantly. However, I keep forgetting about it constantly as well. We did get some questions from a couple of people in the chat, but they didn't want to say them out loud. So I'll ask those here in a little bit, but just going to open this up to the group. If anybody has any questions that you want to ask out loud or anything like that, feel free to raise your hand and we will call on whoever asks.
Don't be bashful. By the way, my favorite questions are the ones that begin, well, this is sort of a silly question, or this is kind of a stupid question. They always end up being the best questions. So if
Right?
you've got one that you're like, I don't know, man, everybody's going to think I'm go for it. You're probably going to end up with some gold.
Yeah.
And you'll be in my question asking Hall of Fame.
There you go. All right, Gary, go ahead with your question, boss.
All right. So I am curious. And by the way, I love your presentation. Thank you. And I love your energy as well. We don't always get lively and engaging presentations, within this world. And I don't mean our organization, but, within a lot of the ADHD stuff's kind of bland, I'd say. So thank you for the extra flavor today and the pizzazz. A lot of what you talked about is related to negative self-talk. And, crippling negative self-talk, which I certainly was overwhelmed by that most of my life until I started practicing mindfulness, like hardcore for years and years, and practicing self-compassion and self-care. And I all but got rid of that negative self-talk. Yet I still feel there's a very subtle, I'm calling it somatic overwhelm in the things that, all the ADHD blockages. If something feels like homework to me, I'm just going to put it off to the last minute, that kind of thing. So it's really hard to pinpoint until after the fact. Meanwhile, like my job that I'm at right now, I'll distract myself doing a whole bunch of little small jobs. And at the end of the day, it's like, oh, there was, that, and that, the big to-do list stuff. I didn't do it again.
Yeah.
So I'm just curious, without that kind of obvious negative self-talk, if you have any kind of advice or any kind of strategy or trick or something like that I could.
I like that you're coming at this from really two angles. One is that negative self-talk angle, but also on a more practical angle. From a more practical angle, which is I get done at the end of the day, I've been working all day and I go, oh my God, I did these miscellaneous things. I still haven't done. I've managed to avoid, these big important things. And that is in part because of the negative self-talk, the negative. And this is why I'm a really big fan of energy management, because the less energy we have, the less fueled we are. And when I say fuel, I'm talking diet, protein, hydration, no sugar and carbs, but also exercise and sleep. Those are brain fuelers, right? But the less well we do on that, the more susceptible we are to the negative thinking, to the negative self-talk, and to the resignation. You know what? Screw it. I'm not going to deal with this now. Let me go work on these other little easier things that don't cause me any discomfort or whatever. But coming back to the energy thing, I want to tick off a couple real quick things with regard to energy. First of all, again, do you know when your mentally strongest time is of the day?
Yeah, like 5 to 8 p.m.
Yeah, I knew you were going to. The moment you sort of laughed, I was like, I knew. So maybe there is something you can do with that. I don't know what it is. I don't know the nature of your job. But if there is a way for you to maybe do a little bit of work on one of your tough projects in that time and not be doing, what most people are doing 5 to 8, which is probably eating dinner and then watching some TV or whatever. But just consider that and see if you can identify a second strongest, time. It may not be ideal. You may have, but maybe you need to experiment with it. But what we really want to do is we want to sort of marshal up the best energy we could have at a given time of day and say, I am only going to work on one of my biggies, one of those tough things. And by the way, I don't have to finish that thing. All I got to do is get in and start it. And if I work on it for 32 minutes, I am fucking Thor. Sorry about that. Freaking Thor. Seriously. And if you do that, you let yourself off the hook from having to finish or having to accomplish a lot or says, I should be able to get this all done. Why can't I? You know what? I'll try it over the weekend when I have more blah, blah, blah. No, just get in there and start it and just blast away and, kick the can after 20 minutes. You get the score. A nice victory and go, all right, you know what? I just did that for a little while. Let me see if I can do a little restoration, go walk around outside or whatever, or just get up, go top off my coffee or do some stretching or a power pose or whatever, and then come back and maybe give it another shot. I love setting the timer. I love asking Siri to say, to set a timer for me so that I go, all right, because I still got 31 minutes left on this thing. Man, just that 31. I could have gotten a lot done in that 29 minutes, right? So anyway, don't give up. I suggest that you look into the energy side of things. I think there's a great opportunity for you. And again, I say that because the energy supports both your psyche and your ability to do the heavy lifting when you need to. Great question. Great stuff. And well articulated, I'd say too. Nicely done.
Well, thank you. And that, I would say that was a solid fucking gold. So thank you.
So a few years ago, I developed fibromyalgia in 2018, and it was just kind of one of those things where your body kind of dictates what you're going to be capable of doing, because once it hits a certain point, stress and frustration and general things are going to start causing pain, right? And energy management really became a big part of my focus then. It's just because at some point my body's going to just stop and I'm not going to be able to do anything. And so I really appreciate you bringing that up. It really resonated really strongly with me. And it's one of those things where I just keep having to come back and reminding myself, because I know that if I don't, my body will.
Yeah.
And just, it's really unfortunate whenever that stuff happens.
Yeah. Hats off to all of our peeps who battle autoimmune, chronic fatigue, chronic pain stuff. And I'll tell you, it'd be no coincidence that, and I work with a fair number of folks battling one kind or another of one of these conditions. And we, of course, focus most on energy management. We're not playing around with, time management tools and this and that. We are just focused on where can I get some energy? And sometimes it's very unpredictable where your energy shows up. So sometimes we develop a little system to sort of gauge our energy at a given time and see what kind of work can be done then. So yay for you for figuring that out quickly. I guess you were
Yeah.
forced in.
You talk about the gratitude journal. Part of my journal is like, as a 1 to 10 scale, what's my pain level? What's my energy level? And I have to circle it. Then I get to take that to my doctor and say, hey, I had 3 weeks where I was really solid 6s and 7s as far as productivity, but then I also had 2 weeks where I was also at 5 in my pain level. And it really helped me really gauge also what you said about when are you most productive and when are you able to be most productive, gauging that out and being able to look at that trend that I had, what really helped me out with that. So really solid on that one. Got a couple of questions in the chat, but I did, somebody did ask this one. I want to go ahead and ask it. They also appreciated the energy versus time management thing. They said their biggest struggle is how to prioritize things that they need to get done and how much that they can get done in a day.
I love that. I love both of those. So let's talk about prioritization on a micro level. And I mean that's like a day in, day out. Like, okay, what's going on today? What should I work on today? Because the macro level is when you're asking the big prioritization question, the first thing I go to, what is your goal, right? What is it you're trying to accomplish at your job or in your life or in your side hustle, whatever. But we're just going to go with the micro level here. And that is what we want to be able to do is have a morning pause. I don't know if you have that in your life, but I can tell you that every super successful, every CEO, every super productive person has some kind of morning ritual, or what I like to call it a pause and plan, because it doesn't sound as, oh my God, I got to do a ritual. I got to sit on a bed of nails for 45 minutes. No, it just means you're going to pause before you dive into your emails. Maybe it's while that coffee is brewing. Maybe there's a little sticky you put on your coffee maker that says pause and plan, so that when you see the coffee maker, you're like, all right, while that coffee's brewing, I'm going to sit down and just do these 3 questions. All right. And Shane, remember I'll need you to remind me of the second part of this, because it was something intriguing and I've forgotten what it was when I dove into this end of it. So the 3 questions to ask ourselves, and they only take about 60 seconds. Question 1 is, what's going on today? Where do I need to be? Where do I need to show up and at what time, right? We've got to pause to just ask that. And I won't go into the many benefits of it, but some of them should be obvious. I will be less likely to forget things and to be late for things, right? But just doing that gives us a sense of the day, of what is good, what the shape of the day is. And then question number 2 is, all right, great. I know where I got to be for other people or for meetings or errands I got to run. Where is there a block of time, or 2 maybe, where I can work on the me stuff? And the me stuff is our biggies, the stuff that we know we got to do that tends to get pushed. Oh, well, I ran out of time today. I couldn't work on that big freaking thing. So where is there some blocks of time, and ideally a block of time in my mentally strong time, where I can work on one of my me things, one of my biggies? And then the third question is simply, okay, I've got this. I'm pretty strong in the morning from, say, 8 to 11. I've got this block of time from 9 to 11. So I'm going to work on what? What is the one? That's the third question. What's the one thing I'm going to work on in that strong time? It doesn't mean you have to work those whole 2 hours. It just means that at 9 o'clock, you're going to sit down and you're going to begin work on it. So that's just one little quick snippet on a micro prioritization thing. Shane, what was the second part of that?
The second part of the question was, how can they get a better idea of how much stuff they can get done in a day?
Yeah. Okay. So this is really key. And let's start with the reality that what we tend to do is we love to plan out the perfect day. Right? Hey, yeah, I planned out my day. I planned out my whole week. And Monday, from this time to that time, I'm doing that, and I'm doing this, I'm doing that. And so, first of all, that never works because life never happens the way we plan it. I forget who it was that some professor somewhere said that any plan becomes obsolete the moment it comes into contact with reality. So you can plan the perfect morning, and the odds are it's not going to go exactly like that. So first of all, stop pretending that you can plan the perfect day. It never works out. The second thing that we do all the time is we do magical thinking. We go, well, I should be able to do this here and that there, and it should only take me this long to do blah, 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 blah. We human beings, ADHD or not, are terrible at projecting how long it will take for us to do anything. I don't know how long it will take for me to write an article or a presentation or a blog or even a social media post. I really don't know. And so I never assume, hey, I should be able to do this in this amount of time. Now, that may seem crazy, or it may seem like a very unsatisfying answer, but I just prefer to go with that reality. And so I put emphasis on not worrying about what's going to be the perfect day. I try to keep it light and loose. I don't try to do more than 2 biggies a day. I have a little space in my planner for biggies. And you can see today, 2 biggies, day before that, 2 biggies, day before that, 2 biggies, day before that, 1 biggie. I used to do 3 biggies because that's what the rule of thumb is in productivity. I don't do it anymore. Why? Because I wasn't working on the 3rd biggie. So why am I putting it in my calendar? All right. And then, so what I target is not accomplish this or get this done. I just target, do a work session on this, just like I was saying for Gary. Just set that time, and I'm just going to go work on that. And now you're not worried about whether you can finish it or not. Now you're not sitting there looking at the clock going, oh my God, how am I going to fit? Now you get dispirited and you go, you know what? I'm not going to be able to finish it in time, blah, blah, blah. So let me just do it on Saturday. And then you have it carried along into the next week or whatever. Stop doing that. Just set time for you to be sitting down with a work session ritual, hydration, your hot beverage of choice, 20 grams of protein in here, pocket full of Ritalin if that's your drug of choice, right? And then just start working on it.
I love that. That definitely echoes a lot of the stuff that I have to do. Now, one of the things, and I want to say thank you, by the way, because I learned this from you, was that pause in the morning.
Yeah.
You wrote a blog on it, I want to say last year, but don't hold me to that. But my thing is Alexa. I have it in every room of my house. And what I do is every morning at 9:30, which I start work at 10, she goes off in my entire household. Shane, look at your calendar and your to-do list for the day. And at night, she does the same thing because I got things done through the day that may not have been on my list, and I make sure to put them on my list so that I feel like I actually accomplished something.
That's great.
But it's that stop and pause in the morning and that stop and pause in the evening, which makes me feel more prepared for the day and less stressed out. So I learned that from you, and I wanted to say thank you for that.
Well, and this is a great example of what happens when you get somebody who's tech savvy. Of course you're doing it. It never would have occurred to me in a million years to use Siri or Alexa to provide that reminder. Never in a million years. Me, I'm like, I don't want to have nothing to do with these machines. All right. Good stuff.
Alexa is my second wife because she tells me to do when to do all my chores and things like that, because I can yell at her and tell her to shut the fuck up. If I did that with my wife, I would be on a murder show in 10 years whenever they sit here and say she snapped. So now we got a question in the chat. So my wife and I are both newly diagnosed ADHD. What is the best way we can encourage each other in shifting our mindsets?
Wow. Well, the great news is that you guys, you were already partners. Now you've got this other thing to partner around. So being on this journey together, I think that you're way, way better off than, for instance, a couple where one is ADHD and the other is not, because that can create a lot of friction. Sometimes it works, but I just think that you're better off fighting this fight together. And so what I like to do, and my wife she's not clinically ADHD, but she's got some of the traits. She's definitely her brain is a little bit more organized than mine. But what we do is we like to make what we call personal policies. They're like little contracts or little agreements. And so, for instance, we just made an agreement this afternoon that Livingston over there, our little hairless Sphinx cat, does not get any more cream. It's sort of a little indulgence. And we'll never, neither of us ever, we just agree we're never doing it again. I know that sounds trivial. Another one that we do is we're wine lovers, like high-end wine and just ridiculous. But I have a policy that I do not drink wine during the week. Only am I allowed to drink on the weekends, and I'm only good for like a glass and a half, 2 glasses tops anyway. But we made a personal policy that we will only drink during the week if we have friends over or if it is a holiday. And that has worked pretty good. Alcohol doesn't affect her as much as it affects my sleep and my productivity the next day. So she cheats a little bit during the week, but I'm okay with that because she's still, my accountability buddy on it. So I invite you, the two of you, to identify one mindset shift that you want to try to work, right? And it may not be one of the ones that I shared. It may be something that you guys came up with. I want to shift my mind from this kind of attitude to whatever. Make a big deal of it. Let's put them on the refrigerator. Like, here's what I'm doing. Here's what you're doing. I mean, seriously, it may sound silly, but this little stuff, these little reminders, and that sort of agreement, that little contract that you make can be super, super powerful, and work on it together and hold each other accountable. Say, hey, man, and you never get like, you didn't do your thing. It's more like, hey, you didn't do that thing. You know what I'm saying? And you don't have to do it in a Jersey accent if you don't want. I mean, it's more effective if you do it that way because there'll be less fucking around. People want, if you do that thing, I think that's a lot better than, hey, did you do that thing? I'm just saying. All right. Good question. Thank you for asking.
Dying. Oh man, I hear you. So another question that just popped up is, how do you feel about the Pomodoro method as a way to kickstart productivity?
Yeah, it's great. And I'd say I've never used the Pomodoro, but I'm a fan of the concept. And what I do is I basically do the Pomodoro with Siri over here. I've got 16 and a half minutes left on my thing, but I'm doing the Pomodoro 3 times every day because I'm saying, hey, what's your name? Set a timer for 1 hour. And then I have the sort of the pressure or the challenge to stay in this task for 1 hour. And then when that goes off, if I've got a little more energy, I just hit repeat, right? If I'm done with that thing, I hit stop. Now, one of the limitations with the Pomodoro, as I understand it, is that it gives you 25 minutes on, 5 minutes off. Well, what if you're 25 minutes in and you're in motion, you're doing great, you're in the flow. You don't want that thing going off and interrupting me and saying, hey, take a break. So I feel like you can, if the Pomodoro works and you want that little tomato thing, God bless you, go for it. But I feel that if you get serious about using a timer, that you can have the same sort of effect. I will say that part of the methodology of the Pomodoro is that 5-minute break. And what's cool about that is what they want you to do is do something other than that work, ideally something that's restorative, so that you're taking a little bit of a break and then coming back to another 25-minute work session. So if you're not going to use the Pomodoro technique per se, make sure that when that alarm goes off and you do need a little break, that you are doing something restorative, not an escape, not something that is just going to burn more. Come on. Even my phone doesn't want to talk to me anymore. Not something that's going to burn a bunch of gas in here and will not have you feeling like returning to the task. But again, walking around outside, getting up, getting some more protein, etc. Great question.
Yeah, and that's one of those things that I see a lot of people having that issue is like, why do I have to do the 25 minutes? Because what if I hit the groove, right? And I'm like, okay, cool. Do 35 minutes or 40 minutes.
Yeah.
The 25 and 5 is only because they're trying to plan you for 1 hour's worth of work. Like, that's the whole concept around it. But you can be ADHD about it and do whatever the heck you want. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just a gate. It's just a starter for whatever productivity system works for you.
Whatever works for you.
Yeah.
Truer words never spoken. That really is key for all of us. You know, if you're a tech guy like Shane, man, go. But if you're a non-tech guy like me, don't try to force technology upon yourself, kind of thing. Whatever works for you.
Yeah, there's actually, I got a little octagon clock that I just flip it and it restarts the timer, and flip it again to, to set the timer for my rest time, and then flip it again. Like, because I don't want to sit here and just say Alexa every 30 minutes. It's annoying. So it's just easier to use that. So there's plenty of analog systems out there for that as well. Also, I love your cat. My wife hates those cats. She won't let me
By
get
the
one.
way, I think you showed me that little 8 ball.
Yeah, I did. Yep.
Yeah.
Got another question that just popped up in private, so I'll ask it real quick. This one? No, okay, this fits. I find it hard to say no to requests from others, even if I'm already overwhelmed with my own stuff. How do I manage saying no to people?
Yeah. That's me too. It's something that, in a way, it was a good thing when I was in the corporate. I was an ad exec for many years in New York City. And being the guy who's like, yeah, I'm down with that. Yeah, I'll help you with that. Of course, I worked long hours, worked weekends, but I was going to be doing that anyway because I just take so long to do everything. So I've always worked long hours. But yeah, especially when we're working for ourselves or when we are already overwhelmed at our job, let's first just talk about the reasons that might be for this. I'll just tell it from my perspective. Low self-esteem, feeling valueless until a certain point in my career when I realized, hey, I could do a few things, and not wanting to offend anybody, not liking confrontation, not wanting to say no to anybody because you don't want people to judge you or think this of you or not like you or whatever. All that stuff, man, made it real easy for me to say yes and real hard to say no. What I learned over time was a handful of non-no no's. So ways to say no without saying no. Ways to saying no without saying no. One of them is just, you know what? Okay, I would love to help you with that. Let me check my calendar, or let me check with so-and-so. Just let me check, right? Now, that requires a little bit of impulse control because you may be impulsive and go, yeah, of course, yes, I'll help you with that. But if we can just build in a little bit of a pause when we hear somebody asking us for something, just go, you know what, man, I'd love to help you with that. But I got to check with my so-and-so, or I got to check with my wife, or I got to check with whatever that is. So that's a really good one. And you may end up deciding, hey, you know what, I can help, or I want to help with this. But it allows you to put a little bit of a cushion in there so you can think about it more. But also, you've already said, when you say, let me check, it means that you need to go and consult with another authority. So it sort of allows you to do the good cop, bad cop thing. You know, you can say, my cat, it's funny, I've been studying Italian again because I just went to Italy. And there's this whole little exercise on the app that says, ho bisogno, blah, 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 blah. But I can't because my cat needs me. It's really funny, like excuses why I can't go to the party because my cat needs me. I won't try to do the Italian. But, you know, to have a good cop, bad cop thing. Another thing that we can do, and by the way, the other thing that happens when you do that is you are signaling that you are busy. And so further to that, what you can do is say, you know what? Let me look at my workload, or let me look at my calendar, et cetera. That one is a great one too. It's related, but that's a great one too, because you are, again, signaling, I have a bunch of other priorities. I would love to help you. I just want to check on this. Let me take a look at my workload. Let me take a look at my calendar. Let me see what I'm doing that week, or whatever that is. And it makes it a lot easier for you to come back and say, you know what? I'm so sorry. I would love to help you with that. But that, you know, those days I have to be working. I have to be finishing up this so-and-so. Can I help? Maybe I can help you with something else at another time. And then the last one, there are a bunch of these. I'm just going to share one more. And that is the yes, but. And so I used this a lot back in the ad agency days, where I would go, you know what? I can help you with this part of it, but after that, I'm not going to be able to help. So if I can help you get it started, and then maybe you hand it off to so-and-so or whatever, or I can help so-and-so with this part of it. So there can be ways to say no without saying no. No no's. Hope that's
Yeah.
helpful.
That is very helpful. It's one of those things that I really people pleasing. That's our thing, right? That's one of the things
Yeah.
that we really enjoy doing. And there's some ways where it's okay, right? We make really attentive partners for a lot of situations. One of my things though is always clarifying questions because you kind of talked about it. But my favorite is like, no problem. When do you want it done and how well do you want it done? Right, because if they come to me and they say, "Hey, I need this done as soon as possible." All right, cool. How well do you want it done?
Yeah.
Well, I need it, I need a perfect copy, right? Say a blog. Like okay, cool. You know, if you want it done in 2 days, I don't have the time to do it in the 2 days. I can't give you a perfect copy. I could get you a rough draft in an hour if you wanted. That's how much time I've got. Right. And I'm kind of giving them the understanding I am very busy. If you want me to just run out a real rough draft for you to clean up, cool, I got you there. But if you want it perfect and I don't have the time, can't really help you.
And if
Check with Evelyn in HR. She does that kind
Yeah.
of stuff.
And if you take that one to just one level high, the next level of that one is I would love to, and this came up just recently because I was asked to be on the board for something. And I said, you know what? I would love to be on the board for this organization, but I just don't feel I can do with the time I have available. I don't think I'm going to be very good at it. I will, and if I'm going to do that, I want to be able to dive all in and really kick ass on this thing. So that's another way to say, you're saying no, but you're giving a legit reason on that. All right.
Yep.
More questions?
All right. Let me see. I wrote down one. Oh, okay. This is a good one. Thank you very much for asking this one. I know routines can be helpful, but I resist them because they feel restrictive. How do I find a balance between the structure and flexibility?
Yeah. Yeah. I want to ask the writer of the question, are you a rebel? Do you consider yourself a little bit of a rebel? So you don't have to answer
I
that.
paraphrased. There's some language that was being used in that one.
So this is a pretty common thing. It's definitely not a majority of folks that I work with, but it's a very common. I'd say 10 to 15% of folks I work with had this rebel thing where any suggestion of a routine or a pattern I have to fit into, or some regularity with which I have to do this, or a certain way of doing it, or something that someone else has asked me to do because someone else has asked me to do it. It's like I bristle at being told what to do. Or I bristle at just the idea of I have to be part of some routine. What am I? I'm not a machine. I want to have the freedom. Now, some of that may come from, and I was just working with someone in my group coaching about this because she has a real serious issue with routine. And so I suggested that it may come from sort of the rebel thing, because there are definitely people that are rebels. And even when they assign themselves something and say, I'm going to do this tomorrow at this time, they get to that time tomorrow and they go, who am I to tell me what to do? I mean, I'm serious. So, and they keep revolting and rebelling. But the thing that I ask folks to investigate is a reason that you are sort of bristling at routine caused by the fact that you have had failures in adopting routines or being consistent in the past. And therefore, when you're given the opportunity or the challenge to do some routine, you're like, oh, that can be that, like, I'm terrible at this. I suck at that. So I know that's only sort of a partial answer, but I think that a part of the solution is definitely trying to figure out why it is that you bristle at the routines. Are you more of a rebel? Is it because you've had a lot of failures with routines in the past? And then the last thing I'll say on this is, don't forget that imperfect consistency is really powerful. So what? You didn't do it 7 days out of the week. So maybe you did it 4 days out of the week. Go and take that victory lap. If you did it 3 days, as long as you keep trying to do it and try to get some regularity with it, it's like working out. Well, I'm going to work out 5 times a week, blah, blah, blah. You know what? If you only get in 2 for the first 2 months or whatever, great. Don't beat yourself up, because if you do 2 for a few months, you're more likely to do a third one in the third month. So it might take a little tempering, little playing around with it.
Yeah, this is actually something I've also seen. If this is a severe issue, I'm kind of speaking to the person. If this is a severe issue where you constantly find yourself having issues with any kind of demands or anything like that, you may want to look up pathological demand avoidance. This is actually seen fairly often in autistic people. And if you have ADHD, there's a high likelihood of autistic tendencies in there as well. So this may be something where you want to kind of explore a little bit more about pathological demand avoidance, because this is very rooted in our overwhelm feels that we start stacking so many demands that we have on ourselves, including self-recriminations and the self-negative talk and things of that nature. You start to build an actual resistance to any kind of demand at all.
Yeah.
And even yourself. And it's very hard for you to put any importance on that because if you have this, you may also have autism, and we already have a issue with other people's needs and things like that kind of can come off callous and not caring. So that's another thing. You got time for one more question or?
Yeah, one more, and I really got a boogie. I've got a 90-minute masterclass I'm giving in 30 minutes.
Okay. How do you stay motivated when facing tasks that feel boring or are tedious, even when you know they're important?
That's another great. You guys have asked great questions. Thank you so much. And you guys, just a great audience. And I appreciate Dave's comment before. Thank you for that. So these are, I call these mundane tasks. There's just like, it's not like, gotta get done. I'm dead if I don't do this. And these also often fall into sort of routine things, maintenance things. It's like doing the dishes, doing the laundry, getting the oil changed in your car, yard work sometimes. It's just, they don't hold really any interest, but you know how to do them. And, they're not necessarily difficult. They're more like a pain in the butt, or they're mundane, right? And the classic way at this is to take a close look at the inherent value of the action. And I'll give you the example I use all the time. I have a pickup truck. Yeah, that's right. I'm a city guy. I bought that pickup truck when I lived in Brooklyn. I was parking a pickup truck in Brooklyn, but I only have it because that's how I get my race bike to the racetrack. That's the only reason I have a pickup truck. Anyway, I just got a new one. But my old one that I had for, I don't know, 15 years or something, Ford F-150, I, would always say, oh man, I got to get the oil changed, or, and it's just, oh man, I don't have time for that. I don't want to do that. And I started to realize that this was a mundane task. I knew how to do it. It was relatively easy to do. I just drive the truck up, 3 exits on the 5 freeway, and there's a friggin' valvoline place right there. It cost me $90. It'll take 15 minutes to get it done, and I could be home in half an hour or something like that. But what I did was I tied the oil change to the resale value of the truck. And I started to maintain a binder with every receipt for every oil change that I did over those 15 years. And with the idea being, the value of this thing is that I'm going to have a file that says to any prospective buyer, and I will sell the truck at some point, that says, not only is this, the body in pretty good shape and the interior in pretty good shape, and actually drive it too much, but the engine has been absolutely babied with the highest cost oil every time, and I change it thousands of miles before it's supposed to be changed. And I had the proof right here. Well, that was what motivated it. So it became a game, and it's sort of like, all right, I'm going to go change it now, even though I don't have to change it for another 1,000 miles or 2,000, I'm going to go. And true story, in February of this year, I drove that old truck, it was a 2009, to a dealership where they had sort of the same truck, base model. And I said, let's, by the way, I'm a very fast shopper. I said, that one over there, let's go, let's do this. And so we got down to negotiating over how much they were going to give me for the trade-in. And we're going to give you this. And I said, no, man, no, no, it's worth more. And he said, I think we went off to the sales manager, and he was there for a few minutes, and he came back out and said, here's the best we can do. I said, you know what? And I whipped out my binder, and I said, I want you, just do me a favor. take this over to the sales manager, all right? Show them these effing receipts for the oil changes that I did over the last 15 years. And then come back and tell me what you're off. So he did that. And he came back, all right, we'll give you this. I said, sold. All right, now let's just take that to doing the dishes or doing the laundry. What we can do is we can pause to evaluate what is the inherent value of doing the dishes. You know what? There's a self-esteem thing. Do I want to be the person that has this sink full of dirty dishes? Do I want my kids to see the piles of dirty laundry just because I'm not motivated to go do the laundry? You could quickly find energy and motivation in that inherent value. There are a bunch of other examples I won't get into, but that's the short answer. I hope that serves your question well.
Yeah, definitely, brother. All right.
All right.
Thank you so much, Alan.
Thank you guys for being a great audience. Really great to see you, Shane. And thank you guys for supporting this amazing organization. Yeah. All right. There's my
Bye.
double fist and my blessing to you. God bless everybody. Take care.
All right. Thanks, everyone.